Guys, can you believe it's already Wednesday again, which means we get to visit with Michael Babcock live from the TMZ studios. Michael Babcock, so good to see you, my friend.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jeremy. How are you doing?
We're doing good.
We have thunderstorms.
I was going to say, we got stormy weather. He probably likes that, right? Because you don't ever have those in L.A.
Yeah. You know, I'm from Jersey, so I had them my whole life, and yet it doesn't rain, no thunderstorms. I do miss that kind of stuff. I really do.
Well, can we switch places for a week then?
How cold is it?
It's not very cold.
It's not very cold actually right now, but it's very thunderstorm, severe weather threats today.
It's supposed to be 68 today. 68.
Okay, I would switch with that.
Okay.
Let's go. Come on over. Let's go, Jeremy.
Okay.
You know where I am.
I really do. I have your home address, Michael. I will not divulge that. I will not.
Should I be worried?
Michael, okay, let's start with, to me, what seems like a very random double date.
Mm-hmm.
It does. So, Kim Kardashian, Pete Davidson, Jeff Bezos, and Lauren Sanchez go on a date. They don't seem like they would necessarily be a couple that had a whole lot in common or would hang out together, but clearly not the case because they go to a restaurant in West Hollywood last night, and they walk out. There was a ton of paparazzi out there, so there wasn't a whole lot of interaction between the couples. But it was sort of funny because you have Kim and Pete walking out, and all of the attention is on them. And then you have the second richest guy in the world, trailing behind, and seemingly no one cares about him. So it's kind of funny, but they're friends. You might remember they had dinner together at his house, his mansion, I should say, in Beverly Hills in January, and then out of that, the whole space trip came to be. It ended up never actually happening for Pete, but yeah, they've been friends, have at least hung out on one other occasion. So, strange group of friends, but friends nonetheless.
You never know how people are going to meet or what brings people together.
Right, or who's going to get along. It's sometimes people you wouldn't think would be compatible are, right? You'd think they have nothing in common. We know where the reality star stuff, the way Kim came to be famous. They
Michael,
came different ways. They got here different ways.
Yeah.
How do the paparazzi know which restaurant they're going to eat? Is it a common restaurant where they would be seen?
Yeah. And it's this restaurant called AOC, not The Politician. It's a pretty popular restaurant out here. There were only a certain number of restaurants out of thousands and thousands of restaurants in LA where there usually are paparazzi. So there are places where stars will go because they know they'll be photographed. And maybe that was the case here because, again, AOC, pretty popular restaurant. There are a lot of places you can go and you can lie low, but they didn't go to one of those places.
Interesting. You would think, honestly, that they might want to lie low here and there.
Right.
Maybe
when you
they
get
do.
to be that famous, Kelly, I'm with you. It was, especially for Kim and Pete. I mean, they are, they're kind of the couple people want to photograph right now. I guess them or Ben and Jen, but for them, they are so incredibly famous, right? A lot of times stars that big, they just want to stay away from it all.
Yeah.
Michael, do you know, too, is it crazy? I really have never watched The Kardashians, the show. I mean, when it was on E! And now it's moving to the new version on Hulu. Do you think Pete Davidson will be on that show as well? Or is he scheduled to be?
Good question. You know what? I don't know the answer to that question. I think what I would say is these things obviously film. It's not like they're filming right now and airing right now. This is from a while back. So I think we're likely going to see things that happened a couple of months ago. But at the same time, Kim and Pete now have been dating for something like 6 months and clearly are at least a little bit serious with one another. So, I wouldn't be shocked if we see him on there. Absolutely not.
And we've gone a week without a Kanye story, right?
Well, yeah. Now you jinxed us, Kelly. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Well,
this one's not.
It's bound to happen again.
This one's not too out there. Nothing wild here. But so a couple months ago, in December, as a matter of fact, when Kim and Kanye, it was not good, and he wanted her back, and he had made that clear. He actually bought a house, like a literal stone's throw away from the house that he built with Kim just years back, and where they lived as a family. So he buys this place, says he wants to be close to the kids, and it's easy then for him to see the kids and hang out, and then they can go back to Kim's. No work has been done on that house, though. It's not a place that Kanye West would likely live in the way it is. And there haven't been any permits filed to do any renovations, nothing like that. So this place has kind of just sat there for a couple of months now, and it looks like it's going to remain sitting there with no one touching it. So maybe Kanye changes his mind and in the end doesn't end up staying there at all, and doesn't feel like it helps him to be in the same neighborhood as his estranged wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to live across the street from my ex. I think it'd be too painful if you're still in love with that person to see what they're doing every day and you're not involved in their lives.
Can you imagine? And Jeremy, and then you're seeing Pete, go, to and from the house. That would be hurtful for Kanye, I think. Obviously, he's had trouble with this. He's had a tough time with all of this, and that seems like kind of torturing yourself.
Absolutely.
And what about let's move on though to J-Lo and Ben Affleck, because I mean, talk about this. The story seems crazy to me. Like stepping back in time, now they're engaged and they're house hunting. It's just
20 years later.
Crazy.
20 years later.
It is crazy. You never would have thought that would have happened. And then once 20 years passes, you're like, Ben and Jen, remember when they dated? And well, here we are again. Now they're engaged. I know we spoke about that $55 million house that they were going to buy. They were actually in the process of, in escrow. And for some reason, they didn't want that property anymore. So they actually pulled out of that sale. But have no fear, they're not going to be kind of slumming it. They are looking at really nice properties in LA, including a $65 million property that they just looked at. It's in this neighborhood called Holmby Hills. It's like a little kind of like a small part, very exclusive location in Beverly Hills. And they're looking at this place that the ex of the restaurateur, Mr. Chow, owned a long time ago. So let's see if they end up buying that house. It's $65 million, but they were buying a $55 million mansion. So I don't know that $10 million changes things. So we'll see if they end up pulling the trigger here and buying this $65 million estate.
I want to see what that looks like.
Here's what I learned from my realtor. It doesn't matter. It's $10 million extra on top of that. That doesn't really make a difference on your house payment.
It doesn't, right? If you're going to spend 55, what's spending 65?
Yeah.
And,
right.
And that's if they pay the listing price. They probably get it a little bit cheaper. So we'll see what happens. But they're definitely in the market. They're definitely going to bring these families together under one roof and blend their family into one.
Do you know? Okay, and I'm getting philosophical here for a second. Okay. Because here's what I don't understand. J-Lo's been married how many times? Ben Affleck has been married. What is it about people who just have to be married? Like, could they just date and be together for a while, like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell? Why is the marriage part so like? I think there are certain celebs who just want to be married, but I'm like, maybe they'll make it work this time.
I don't know. I honestly, I think it's a good question, but. Right away, engaged to Alex Rodriguez, and then they break things off, and very quickly dating Ben, and then wasn't too long until they were engaged. So it's some people like to be married.
I was just thinking about Angelina and Brad. They dated forever, and then when they did get married, that's when the trouble started.
Yeah,
right. I know.
I'm not saying not to get married. I'm just saying.
Right.
I don't know.
It's funny how it seems like that happens sometimes. Everything's good until you go and get married, and then things fall apart. But hopefully, look, they've been through this. They obviously they were together and they broke up. It was a very serious relationship at the time. So hopefully this time, whatever went wrong 20 years ago doesn't, and they can go through with the marriage and hopefully they live happily ever after.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Always great to see you, Michael. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.